Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Jacob Dev. Today's topic is Model Context Protocol, which is just released by Anthropic. We'll talk about how this works and what's better. So, a lot of people kind of think the Model Context Protocol is a new thing, make things very generic, using LLM to build applications. But in fact, there's better things already there that you can just use it. Actually, I think maybe it's even better than Model Context Protocol, but we'll see. That being said, let's get started. So if you go to the Model Context Protocol GitHub page, they have some introductions. So basically it says the Model Context Protocol is an open protocol, so make sure that's not open source protocol, but it's open protocol that enables seamless integration between LLM applications and external data sources and tools. So basically it's building a bridge between LLM and external data sources and tools. So that's good, and that's generic. So let's continue. So to start that, basically they provide Python SDK and TypeScript SDK. Also, they have servers, which is sort of like the core component of the MCP. So we'll take a look at what servers is in a bit. But the three major things after reading everything from MCP is SDK and servers. So servers is basically tooling. So if you're already familiar with how to use tools to build custom LLM, so let's go there a little bit later. But first, let's take a look at the Python SDK. So if you look at the Python SDK, what MCP does really is first install the Python packages. So, and also they basically need you to create a server. So a server essentially is a tooling or a tool functions. So you can create a function basically to list prompts and create a function to call get prompts. So this will eventually call the tools in servers. And if you create a client, say basically you say session.list resources is gonna call that server function. If you use session.list prompts, it's gonna call that server prompt function, similar to other things, right? So it's very generic way to build LLM into applications. And you can see for the primitives, you can see the prompts are basically they explain that to be interactive templates. And for resources, they're contextual data managed by the client applications, and the tools are functions, basically tooling. So it's very popular when you build like a AI coder or some customized LLM stuff. So, but let's continue. So there's a way to use those basically to build a decorator, right? So, but something to actually really to mention is that all this stuff right now only works for Anthropic applications, not for everything else. Anthropic, our cloud provider, basically they built this for the desktop app for Anthropic. So if you, let's say, I want to use this for OpenAI, that's not available right now. So, or Olama, that's not available, even though eventually it can be available for those LLM providers. But at this point, it's not available. So if you look at the client interaction, basically they say, okay, we do the context session that create message, so that this will call the tool, right? So this will call the tool basically. So this is how the MCP is basically to ramp up different client and then talk to different backend tooling. So essentially, this is more middleware, kind of middle tier that bridge all this tooling, which is backend APIs. Let's say you will push something to GitHub, or you do some Google Drive storage or anything like that, right? It's very generic things that you want to do. And the front end, you can basically wire up everything on the front end, no matter what kind of front end it is. So it's actually provide a very generic middle tier to allow you connect the client and the backend. So think about it as a front end, any client. Let's say you have a Node.js app, you have everything else like a front-end user layer. Backend, you have APIs and you have different REST services. How to wire those up and also bring them together and through the MCP. So it's basically providing you a way to interact with this stuff in a very generic way. So that's what it's doing. So let's take a look at the servers, which we were talking about earlier. So if you look at the server section, eventually servers are just a bunch of tools. Maybe they should call it tools, but they call it servers, which kind of makes sense if you put the MCP in a client and server scenario. If you look at the source folder, they're all tools, right? So eventually, based on your prompt, it's gonna wire your stuff to any of the tools here. You can build your own tool, but you need to build a prompt and then do a sort of prompt mapping to tooling, and then the tooling can match any one of the tools you're building here. So let's take a look at the memory, for example. So if you look at the API section, right? So they have to create a mapping. So basically, you can take a look at the files here. It's not a lot of files, right? Not a lot of code. They only have one file, eventually, one class for TypeScript. So what it does, if you look at this one, basically is to map your prompt as a set request handler. So list tools request, right? So these are the sort of like the all the available lookups, if you know what I mean. So if you look at the tools, basically create a bunch of the lookup tools. So to pick from. So this tool is, say, for example, create entities, create multiple new entities in the knowledge graph. And this one is create relations, right? So those are just name of the tools. If you scroll down a little bit, you can see there's another one, set request header, is called tool request schema. So what that does is when the tool found a match, it will basically say, okay, create entities, do this, which is async call, say that a knowledge graph manager will create entities. So this is basically how you map a prompt to a backend MCP server. So as simple as that. So if you look at the whole MCP stuff, it's actually not that complicated from architecture perspective, but it does provide very generic solution down the road for people who wants to implement LLM-based applications. So right now, I think the next phase for the whole AI thing is make sure that LLM is more capable of building applications. So it will be a little different for the application nowadays, but they're more LLM powered. So that's for the MCP stuff, right? That's for what Anthropic they released. But what's better, as I talked about earlier in this video, what's better? So something already does everything that MCP is doing long time ago. So believe it or not, and that is called LiveKit. So this is actually a long time framework. It's not just sort of like something that you built recently. It's a very long time, like has been here for a long time. And now they have something called AI agents. If you look at AI agents repo, they have another repo called examples. So I have two videos. If you look at my YouTube channel, so I have two videos for that. One is for the LiveKit plus HTTPS with Llama and Llama 3.2 version, which you can build Javas, which is Super AGI local super agent. The other one I have is for a step-by-step guide using LiveKit and HTTPS v2 to build a local voice assistant. So feel free to check this out. But what we're talking about here is that if you go to examples, go to voice pipeline agent, which is the one that I'm talking about here, the live agent and HTTPS version 2 voice assistant. So how to build it for yourself using open source stack. For this folder, you will have another file called function calling weather. So this is basically doing the function calling, which is the tooling, as most of the MCP servers does. right? Those server component does. So if you go to the function calling weather, so if you just click inside this file, you'll see there's something called LLM AI callable. So this will map the tools to this function. Basically, these are the tooling as what MCP does as the servers. So I believe in MCP is called servers.ai calls or some tool calls, right? So but it's very similar stuff. If you look at the definition, it's very similar. So in MCP, they basically define different schema, right? The tool schema, as we saw earlier. This one, they basically is the same. So if you see here, basically does what this tool does is description, and basically it's a location to get the weather for something that will get mapped to this function. So if you look at this class definition, it's basically the class defines a set of LLM functions that the assistant can execute, right? So this is basically what the assistant function does. And if you look at the get function, let's see. So this will actually be able to, basically there's another way to define the way how this can execute, but we can go over that in another video. So this one basically is going to map to the weather, and also the parameter basically is the location to get the weather for. So that's a parameter. So it's very similar to what MCP, those servers schema does. So, but anyway, let's continue. So if you have a prompt saying that you know, I want some weather info, then they will get mapped to this function, right? So this is also very generic. So this, if you look at here, these are just a bunch of Python files. So you can leverage any of the API and frameworks within LiveKit. So you can build awesome applications similar to MCP, and very importantly, so to ensure you guys, is this actually works with any open models. Like, it doesn't limit to LLM, because here it's actually a pipeline. So it works with sound to text, text to sound, LLM. So basically build a pipeline for it. So essentially you can build Java's similar thing. Like, you don't really need a type, you just need to speak, and you can map everything to anything you want. If you, let's say, if I want to upload to GitHub or push to other resources like or Google Drive, just upload to Google Drive. Then you can just create a function here. Then we'll basically push to Google Drive or push to GitHub. So it's very similar to what MCP is trying to do, but LiveKit Agents it already is doing it, and it's a very mature framework, which I also demoed in my videos. So that being said, this is actually seems to be a even better solution than MCP, which is tend to be built. Anyway, so if you go back to the agents, so they have a lot of documentation as well. You can go through the plugins, what they support, and so. But this is definitely something that you should check out if you are interested in MCP. So MCP again is related, and also right now it's only tied to Anthropic. LiveKit works for every open source models and LLMs. So think about it. So is this more generic, or Model Context Protocol at this point is more generic, really based on what you're trying to do. But I think they could also work together in a way. You can actually use the servers of the MCP and plug it in to LiveKit. So you have pretty much a good mapping between your prompt and your tooling. So I think that's so cool, right? But I think that summarizes what I'm trying to talk about today. But before we go, we're trying to take a look at the Cloud AI. So I want to write a comment what they say. So the MCP is good at universal data access, enhanced performance and efficiency, broad applicability, and facilitating agentic AI. But it seems the LiveKit does all of that too. So, but take a look at both and then see which one works for you. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you do like it, please subscribe, like, or comment if you have any questions. Thanks for supporting the channel. See you in the next one.